tough day for the Bears down in Youngstown. First half defensively gave up huge chunk plays. Second half battled back per usual in the third quarter. Offensively, we were consistently efficient. We moved the ball on the ground, in the air. Had a costly turnover late that would have cut it to 3, but again, team loss, you would say. And it's one of those things that the we talk about this all the time, the Valley being what it is, and you go into each game understanding the type of opponents you're going to play. The last thing you can do is beat yourself and make immature, bad decisions and expect to win any football game in the Valley. It's just not going to happen. Whether you're playing the bottom or the top of the Valley, you have to play clean, quality football to win and be effective in our conference. And we didn't do that last weekend. On to another really good test at home, Illinois State. Looking forward to that one. And back to work.
What was the cause of the penalties? I mean, you've been one of the least penalized teams in the league and in the country, averaging around 4 penalties a game. All of a sudden, 11 penalties. Some of them looked like maybe frustration penalties on some of those big chunk plays that you talked about Youngstown State rattling off.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between hustle penalties and, I'm not going to choose a better word, immaturity penalties. Again, there's a few other words you could probably use there, but we had a few of both, unfortunately. And like you said, we hadn't been penalized throughout the year like we had in the Youngstown game. But again, we addressed them yesterday as a group. We made sure that guys understand that you have to be able to have competitive composure and be able to handle yourself in stressful situations and do a better job of controlling your emotions.
What did you make of some of the secondary breakdowns? Guys running free, and even when they were covered, sometimes the guys made some really good catches.
Yeah, we had 2 big explosive plays in the first half that absolutely can't happen. Veteran guys that with blown coverage assignments, inexcusable. And then, throughout the rest of the game, we had bodies on bodies. Oliver made some incredible catches. The quarterback was putting it. He was elite. He had one of his probably a career day. He was putting the ball wherever he wanted to put it, and his wideouts were making a ton of unbelievable plays for him. Sometimes that's how it goes, and that's, again, they're good. They're a good team, and that's where I go back to talking about everything being about your team and how do you react to certain situations. Are you mature enough to handle pressure, or do you push and shove and get a 15-yard penalty that costs you a first down in critical situations? Obviously, we aren't mature enough to handle that at this point, and we got to continue to get better at that.
Piggybacking on Corey, when you asked about the penalties, that seemed to be something that was getting cleaned up, because we'd seen in previous years that was had been a problem. You guys lost at Youngstown State previously because of some penalties late in those games. Just how much of a focus had that been, and just to see a step back the other day, just how frustrating is that?
Yeah, it was extremely frustrating. We have put a huge emphasis on it because, like you said, the last few years we've been here, that's been a major problem. We'd be in games and then we'd have a major third down stop and somebody makes a knucklehead play and all of a sudden it's 1st and 10 and they go in and score. Clearly, we up until last week, we had done a good job of it. Like you said, we were top in the country and least amount of penalties, and we took a step back, which was frustrating. But again, when you talk to the guys and you try to figure out the whys and the whats and the hows, they have to understand that everyone's frustrated this time of the year at some points. You can't let your emotions control your actions, and we got to do a better job of that, be more mature.
How do you go about correcting that for next week?
We'll have some extracurricular work after practice to handle a few of the what I called immature penalties. And then the hustle penalties, you just got to make sure you're doing what you're coached to do. Our special teams has been such a positive for us, and most of the penalties we had were on the huge returns, which were just game-changing. And we had a great special teams meeting yesterday and talked about special teams core guys. You get about, I would say on average, 8 to 11 plays to affect the game. And there are major, major plays in the football game, and you have to be on. That's why you're, core special teams players, and some of our guys have been great the last few years, and that was uncharacteristic. But we'll get that cleaned up.
Jaden Beck's had some opportunities, speaking of special teams, on Saturday. How did you think about his performance?
Yeah, he's got juice in the return game. He sees it well. He still makes some some tough decisions. The one late in the game when he really signals, he puts his arms out, and really it's a signal to tell everybody to shut it down because he's not going to return it, and then he decides to return it. True freshman, 17, 18 years old. You try to coach that out of him, but he's a young guy, and we're down. He's trying to make a play. We've got some real competitors on the team. You see our energy and our effort. It's not for lack of effort, but it has to be a controlled effort in regards to, again, no issues after the plays are over, and becoming a football team that can win on the road consistently.
You come off a 2-game winning streak there. Was there anything in the game that just kind of regression in there that you thought was fixed up? We talked about penalties and some of those things, but something that just stuck out that maybe bothered you from what you guys built on to this past game?
Yeah, obviously the explosive pass plays. If you would have told me, Wyatt, on last Thursday that, hey, Coach Beard, it's going to come down to them having to throw the ball to beat you. You're going to stop the run, and they're going to have to throw to beat you. I would have given you 2 thumbs up and said, absolutely, let's dance. And that was a little frustrating because the secondary had held up pretty well, and to have the issues that we had from veteran guys is not like them. And again, I don't know if we were pressing a little bit or what it was, trying to get back in contention, but we showed some regression on the pass defense for sure. Because again, they had a historic day there, and some of them were contested throws, the others were just mental lapses, and we got to focus more on that.
What can you say about Illinois State? How different are they from Youngstown, and what are we looking to see on Saturday?
They're another good football team. Again, I think I brought up Youngstown 2 weeks ago when we were prepping for Youngstown State. They were in a shootout with Youngstown State. They're a good football team. They got a good quarterback. They're going to run some zone read stuff, let them run a little bit more. Great tight end play, good wideouts. Their defense is always stout. They've been known for their defense throughout the Valley for a long time. Really good pressure packages, jumping in and out of 3 and 4 down. So we'll have our hands full again.
Coach, other than your father-in-law, who's a trusted sounding board you might use to talk coaching and the ups and downs of the profession?
Yeah, I still talk to Coach McElwain at Central Michigan. Talk to Coach Brom at Louisville. Me and Jamarcus Shepard. Jamarcus, he's the co-offensive coordinator at Washington. Really good friend of mine. Another young coach that we talk back and forth all the time. And some of the other guys at Louisville. I got quite a few guys that Sunday. We bounce ideas off each other and just talk through things in regards to. And it's even smaller things than you might think, even in regards to, not necessarily in-game decisions, but, things that I might have seen in the game prep the week before, asking questions about that, or how do they change late in the season to kind of give a spark, because, it's a long season. These guys have been going since really first week in June. They had a little break right before camp for about 3 days, but it gets long. We have to find ways to keep them engaged, keep them moving and progressing, and that's I get a lot from those guys.
How about a guy who's from a different sport? Your office is right down the hall from you.
Yeah, he's awesome. Unfortunately, I don't get to see Coach G as much as I'd like to, but he's been tremendous. And really, I'm sure you know Coach G way more than I do. He's more of a life guy. He talks about things that have nothing to do with sports, but then he brings it all full circle and brings it back in, because you're not normally down the hall from a guy that's a Hall of Famer and one of the winningest coaches in college baseball, and that's been pretty awesome to be a part of that.